Fine. So Parsha Shemos. So the format for those who are newcomers is we learn a sicha from Rabbi Nachman, sicha Saran, and then we try to understand it to the best of our ability, and we see what it opens up for us in the parsha. Oh, can I bother you? Do you have a chumash?
Yeah. Shemos?
Yeah, please. Okay, so here's the sicha. Ready? So let's wait a second. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Is that okay? That's okay. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Okay, so says Rabbi Nachman in Sichos Haran Yud. Harishayim heim mileim charatos. Rishayim are filled with charata, with regret. So first off, it's an interesting thing. He's already, in a sense, he's already pointing out that even people who we think of as Rishayim, I don't know if we think of people as Rishayim, people that, we typically think of a Rasha as somebody who's just, going to go do whatever he wants and he doesn't care. He's, just kind of checking out of caring in any way, shape, or form. But Rabbi Nachman is saying that the Rishayim are Meleim Charatos, that actually, in truth, they're filled with Charata. It's almost like he's saying, I don't know if he is saying this explicitly, I don't know if he would say this, but it's like nobody is actually okay doing the wrong thing. Right? Nobody is actually just fine and has no issue doing the wrong thing. They're shamar meleim charatos. They really actually feel a deep sense of remorse or regret or disdain for what they're doing. They may not figure out how to change their course of action, but they're actually filled with charata. V'hin einam yodim klal mahu charata, but they don't actually even know what charata is. So they're filled with charata, but they don't know what charata is. Ki zehu ba'atzmo shehim mizgabrim be'inyan rishasam. This itself, that they are going to continue to kind of, in a sense, strengthen their way of rishos, their way of going down a not good path. Zeu ba'atzmo charata. This itself is charata. It's a very interesting line, no? The fact that they continue in their not good ways, that itself is charata. What in the world does that mean? Continuing to do something not good is because of, or is a form, or is charata. That itself is regret. He says, Machmas sheba b'daitam charatos, the fact that they have charata come in their mind, al kain he misgabrim b'yoseh b'rishasam. Because of their charata, they end up doing more not good things. So Rishayim are filled with charata. They don't even know what their charata is, and because of their charata, they go further into rishos.
It's the vicious cycle.
Vicious cycle, right. So I don't know if this is what Rabbi Nachman means, but I can say, speaking to it from a psychological perspective, there's a couple ways to look at this. But one is that a person does something that's not good. They feel so not good about it. They don't know what to do with their feeling of disgust that they're experiencing. And because they're experiencing disgust that they don't know in themselves, that they don't know what to do with, they need to now deal with that disgust. So they go ahead and they do something else that helps them eject from their disgust, helps them get away from their disgust. So what ended up happening, that their charata of what they did wrong actually ends up driving them to do more wrong. But it's actually being fueled by charata. So he's not saying that it's okay to go ahead and do wrong. He's not giving them a green light. But he is giving a very interesting perspective on how to look at somebody who goes down a path that leads further and further to, not such good places.
Can charata be shame or guilt, or that's something else?
I don't know. I mean, no, I don't know. I think maybe that is what he's talking about. Maybe, I don't know. They get filled with this sense of guilt or shame or whatever you want to call it. And because of that, they go ahead and they do more not good things, because they feel so bad in themselves they can't be present. So they have to find another way to avoid.
So they don't know what the feeling is, or they don't know what action that they're doing is sinning.
I would think it's more that they feel so negative in that feeling that they have to get away from the feeling.
Listen, Levi,
Say it again?
if they already are feeling bad, and they have this energy, right? And all they're thinking about is what they did, and they really can't get past what they did. And they can't feel fixated on this, and they have energy. So if the only thing in the mind is what they did, the energy needs to be can only progress. So they progress by doing the only thing that's in their mind,
Right.
which is
Right. That's another way to put it. Yeah. I think another way to put it is when they have charata about what they've done, they now can identify with the bad that they've done. And once they've identified with the bad that they've done, they now think that's who I am. That's this is the type of person that I am. So what does this type of person do? Well, he does what this type of person does. So I go ahead and do more of it. Right? Okay, let's see what he says. Kamo shnei anashim. So now the truth is what he's going to say now is a little bit of a different angle in the way he's explaining it than what I was saying until now. I'm not sure. We have to see how to make sense of this. Kamo shnei anashim shenilchamim zeh keneged zeh. Like two people who are battling with each other. They're in a struggle, in a fight. Shekishe echad roeh shechaveiro misgaber negdo. When one person sees that his friend is overtaking him, azayhu misgaber biyoser kenegdos. Now he has the strength and get even stronger, right? You're fighting against me and you're starting to take me down. That's when I'm going to get my surge of energy, right? The more that you are overpowering me, pass a plate. The more that you're overpowering me, so the more that I'm going to start to fight back now, right?
Tug of war.
Right, tug of war, yeah. Can I fill your plate for you?
No, yeah, there you go.
Right. So when one starts fighting stronger, the other is going to fight back even stronger. Azayhum is gaber biyoser kenegdo. Kimochin mamish. So too, the same is true. Kishahara roeh shemaschel izet tov lehisora etzlam. When the not good, when the ra sees that this person is having charata, and their charata is tov, their charata is them wanting to change and do good. When the Ra sees that this individual who just fell, but now he's having charata and he wants to do good. When the Ra sees that, the Ra is going to get stronger because it sees that its opponent is getting stronger. Azayim iskaber biyoser v'havein. V'zeu klal gadol b'avodas Hashem. And this is a very important principle in avodas Hashem. Afilu l'shar b'nei adam. Now he's saying this is for everybody, meaning what I just told you is true about Rishaim. But now he's saying, but this is true for everyone now, what I'm bringing out. L'chol echad l'fi erko, each person on their level. Shekol ma'asher rotza yoser likanetz b'avodas Hashem. That all the more, in as much as a person wants to enter into avodas Hashem, misgaber alav habal davar b'yoser. The other side is going to come at him even more intensely, even with even more ammo. We've already explained this in other places. And a person has to be smart about this. And they have to use, I think that's a reference to a pasuk, and he has to, you have to use different tricks and be smart in how you wage war. Lehisgaber al hara, to fight against the ra. Lehisgaber is gadol b'chol pam, with strength. Ashrei hazocha l'natseach hamilchama. Praiseworthy, fortunate is the one who is zocha to win this battle. It's interesting. L'natseach hamilchama, we usually translate as to win the battle, but netzach is to win, but netzach is also eternal, to be eternal. L'natseach hamilchama is like, in a sense, it's to win the battle, but also you could read it maybe. L'natseach hamilchama means to stay in the battle, to eternally be in the battle.
He's saying it never
to not give up. Right, exactly, right.
Wherever you go,
wherever you go, it's going to come. So l'natseach hamilchama means to not give up on continuing the fight, even though you might get the feeling of, I don't understand, I've already tried 1,000 times, or I've already been through so much, like when is this going to, is enough already? So Lenatseach HaMilchama means to win the battle, meaning to keep being in the fight, to not let go of the fight.
Or something even like plateauing.
Right.
Thinking you're good enough.
Right. Right.
Right, it's always about the Yitzhara, right? Maybe Rabbi Nachman said it, I'm not too sure, but that if a Jew is not consistent better with his Yitzhara, he's either, he says no, he's either a liar, or he's no arrogant, who knows what there's an idea like that.
Right.
Mistaken.
Right. The Yetzer Hara is always there. So, okay. So what is Rabbi Nachman saying here? What's Rabbi Nachman saying here, and how does this connect to the topic of what we pointed out in the, as kind of naming this as how do we serve Hashem with positivity? What Rabbi Nachman's doing here is giving us really in a sense a radically new perspective, and maybe it's what we've heard before, but it's something that needs to be, it's radical in its essence. New perspective on how we look at challenges, how we look at our Yetzer Hara, how we look at our experience of feeling kind of either, let's say, tempted to something negative or drawn to something negative, or we've even already stumbled on something negative. What Rabbi Nachman is saying is we need to look at that in a positive way, actually. It doesn't mean he's saying we have a green light to go ahead and do whatever we want, but how do we look at the experience of our struggle? What Rabbi Nachman is saying is a few things in this piece. First, as we pointed out, he's saying that everybody, even the Rishayim, are actually, in truth, filled with charata. They don't even know what their charata is. They might have so much charata that they can't even see their charata. It's so overwhelming and all-consuming to them, they can't even reckon with it. They can't grapple with it. But everyone is filled with charata. And number two, he's saying that actually, where does it come from that a person goes further into their rishos, into their bad ways? Where does it come from? It doesn't come from, being a bad person. It comes from the fact that when there's more good that is starting to awaken, when there's more good that's starting to emerge, so that good also awakens the other side, the side that's going to try and bring you down. So I've always wanted to understand this better. I'm curious if we could try to speak this out together. Like, what's the pshat? It's like a video game, or it's like, we give a mushal to like tug of war or whatever it is. Like, what? But there has to be some. No, because there has to be some more. There has to be a better explanation. Otherwise, it just makes it sound. I don't know. To me, it makes it sound like that kind of problematic, old school, like superficial way of looking at God. Like, he's just kind of like orchestrating this like challenge for you in this way that's like, okay, every time you get better, I'm gonna give you a new opponent. Like what? Like, we're not playing like Mortal Kombat over here. So it's like when you beat the level, like you like Super Mario or whatever, like you beat the level, so now you get an even stronger opponent. Like what does it really mean? Why is it this way? What does it mean that there's this principle in the way Hashem created the world and created us, that as we develop further, the more we develop our kli and our ratzon of good, the more that we're going to have ra come at us as well.
I think you see that in a lot of aspects of the world in our lives, right? The more that something has the potential for good, oftentimes it can also have the potential for bad.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's, you just look at like something like the internet, right?
Right.
How much access we have to Torah, but how much access we have to other terrible things as well that can be a brain rot.
Right.
And so in a lot of ways, when you have this potential for one, like as that gets greater and greater, it's like you said, it's how he created the world. It's not like he's just creating this challenge just for us. Right. But it's just
yeah. So what is that? But why is the world that way? I think that's true. You're right.
How we have gravity.
We have what?
Gravity.
Yeah.
And it's pushing us down. Okay, but we're still standing up. Now that's a simple idea, but it's always going to be a counter to everything, right? Because when nothing can exist without a counter. There always needs to be some sort of progression.
Mm-hmm.
Progression isn't happening.
Progression
isn't happening if there's nothing trying to counter it. Where is it progressing? Okay. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't get the idea of progressing, like the full idea of progressing if there's no if there's no counter force. So that's with everything, all right? Physical and non-physical. So the same idea is, right, you could like gravity, compare that to us, okay? Of course, as you're trying to go higher, right? The balloon can only, or something can only go so high, right? Due to gravity and the weight and whatnot, okay? So the same deal with us. We have to, there always needs to be a counter force.
Mm-hmm.
It's similar to what you're saying, that things are meaningless if it's not, when they're working out, if it's not a challenge.
Right.
Like if we lived, for like our version, if we lived forever, nothing would ever really matter because there's always tomorrow. There's always like, you don't have a finite time. I don't know, maybe I guess time is a good example. Time is something that's limited and you don't like you can do with that time. If there's no challenge to do anything, then like okay, like yeah, I mean, I can ask you, but like who cares? It just like happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like freedom is hence you have no, if you're free, no rules attached to you not free, right?
So that explains why when I progress, I need to now have a bigger force come against me,
So
So
you can
I
continue
don't know
to
why
get
bigger-
rid
so that I
of
can
this
continue to
world.
progress.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like it's bigger because now you have the ability, I guess, to
Mm-hmm.
take on more.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're doing simple like addition, then like if you move up, obviously the next challenge needs to be something else. Otherwise, it's not even a challenge.
Right. Right.
Yeah. This is the way
I think this is-
that our
Okay,
Shem
it's
looks
very,
at giving one
very
reward.
Target, yeah.
You could do something good and get a chocolate bar, but then you could do something better and then get a whatever. Yeah, because too. If you go with the Derech Hashem that says Hashem created this world in order to give us the greatest goodness,
Mm-hmm.
Hashem wants to give us that greatest goodness, so He's constantly trying to up our level
Mm-hmm.
to give us more good.
Mm-hmm.
You could say the next world, but even in this world, sometimes the challenge is the sweetest thing. Overcoming the challenge itself could be the sweetest thing.
Right. Right.
I don't know if it's just me or like everyone, but when you're asking the question, I feel like sort of a need to justify it, like I don't know, like I need to defend that stance for some reason, which is weird.
Right.
We had it was a, I forget, Will, right? That a tzaddik, when he overcomes his Yetzer Hara, he's gonna look back and say, "Oh my God, look at a huge mountain, and I succeeded, and I won." And not tzaddik, right? The sinner, he's gonna look past and say, "Oh, that was like a little string I could have had to walk over."
Right.
It's not in charge
Right.
of order.
So
Gemara,
there's
right.
always gonna be that. But
Right,
what's the
right.
exact quote? Do you know?
I don't remember the quote, but it's exactly what you said. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's a way to understand it that makes it more almost like organic. It's not like, okay, Hashem, like, I don't know. There's something that I maybe, I don't know why. I want there to be something more kind of like natural in the, like built into the process, as opposed to it's like
It feels natural.
coming from the outside.
But I guess that's what I'm trying to understand, right?
Yeah.
It's like in physics, like there's equal and opposite reactions. So like that's would fit within this idea. But he's saying like, why did God make it that way?
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think it has to do with so that we can continue to build and earn, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like if the whole idea is that He created us and He didn't just make us automatons, and that He put these challenges so we have these decisions in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
If keeping kosher is no longer a decision for me, then what's the next step? I've already conquered
Right.
that. God, thank God. But like, so then he has to have other challenges and other things that are coming to him. They're going to be probably more difficult and harder because I've become stronger against it. I mean, think about the muscle would be like lifting weights, right? Like
Right.
You lift
Yeah,
weights,
no, we can give a million.
Yeah.
Right, we can give a million examples of this because it's everywhere. Right. It's almost like in a sense.
Why? You want to know why Kadosh Baruch Hu did something when there was like nothing? Why did He make it so we need an opposite counter force and everything? You're trying to ask a question about a code. Who are we to have an answer or even a question? Why did the Kadosh Baruch Hu do that from the beginning? From the beginning. Adam
You're
was
saying
created
the
like
question
that.
I'm trying to
Was
ask
that-
is not really a question that can be asked.
No.
Okay, could be true.
Like
Right, the Rambam says there are questions that we can't really ask. Yeah.
the more you know, the more you don't. The more you know, you don't know. Like the more exposure you are, and you conquer something that you know there is to get the next thing. If you know kosher, okay, now like I'm really good at keeping kosher. Like Now the idea of Chol Yisrael could even enter your mind, 'cause before it's not even going to be like a Havamina. So maybe that's more natural, that it's like you're kind of exposing yourself to more by conquering more, and now now there is more to overcome.
It's not. I'm not saying anything different than anything anyone else is saying. I was like wondering. I haven't fully developed this yet, but I was wondering if there's something about how it's like the more that you are, the more that you develop tov, the more good you're starting to develop. So then it's like you're expanding the kli that you are. It's like you're making like a bigger vessel. Now, if your vessel is bigger, if your container is bigger, so then it's bigger. There's more space in it. You have more capacity, right? Now, if you have more capacity, that in a sense can go either way, right? Like I don't know, this is not fully thought out, but there's more capacity, there's more room, there's more empty space, right? So what's going to fill that? Well, it's going to, it could get filled with all sorts of things, but it's like the container, the vessel is bigger. So now there's more capacity for in whatever direction that's going to go to get filled. I don't know. Okay. Anyway,
I think
you're all right. Yeah.
But I would say it's more emptiness for Hashem giving you bracha. Even, I think we may not see all that bracha and how it's good, but now you've expanded your kli, Hashem wants to pour more in there. Right. Expand it more, Hashem's pouring in more. Right.
And what Rabbi Nachman is saying is that the challenge you're experiencing is actually what seems like the opposite of bracha, because it seems like such a challenge, actually is Hashem pouring more bracha in. Or that's actually not really what he's saying here, but it's more that it's Hashem is giving you that challenge so that he can pour more bracha into it. Right?
Because the challenge is that you're doing so good. You know you're doing good. So he's gonna make it very easy for you to do bad stuff that you know you can do and you've done before. So if you go on and you just say, okay, I'm not, if I lose focus and I go to the other side, you'll suffer, you'll go down, right? But you can't, if you combat this Yeridah, and you continue with and you have this momentum, okay, that's how you're able to fill more into your kli. That answer, that continue to your chap. Do you understand?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
So I was thinking, so what the Parsha, Klal Yisrael in this week's Parsha enter a major challenge, right? This is the beginning of the Galus Mitzrayim and major challenge. So, did they do something wrong that they're experiencing this challenge? Right? Is the challenge is that a result of them doing something wrong? Because I think where Rabbi Nachman is getting at here is, and he speaks this out elsewhere. If we have time, we'll get to it. That most people, when they experience a resurgence of a taiva, they experience that as I fell, I regressed, I relapsed. Right? I don't even mean in an addiction term, just in general, right? Like I fell backwards, right? That's why I'm experiencing this. I've done something wrong. I misstep, and that's why I'm experiencing this. So Klal Yisrael are experiencing in this week's Parsha, they enter into a major shift, right? Last week's Parsha, they're on top of the world, right? They are literally at the top of Mitzrayim. And all of a sudden, this week's Parsha, they're really under, they're on harm's way. So, how did they look at that, or what happened? What caused that? So it happens to be there, I should mention, for intellectual honesty's sake, there are some chazals that do make it sound like it has something to do with Mechiras Yosef. So it actually was taka because they did something wrong. That there is such a thing out there. But it doesn't say that in the parsha, and I don't think that's the only mahalach out there. I think another way to look at it, based on this Rabbi Nachman, is as follows. Rav Hirsch says that the progression from Sefer Bereshis to Sefer Shemos is the progression of the process of Sefer Shemos is a book of Yechidim, of individuals. It's the story of individuals. Sefer Shemos is the beginning of those individuals becoming a nation. Those individuals becoming a nation. Right? This week's Parsha is when they're called an Am. Interestingly, Paro is the first one to call them an Am. Right? So they become an Am. They go from being individuals, and then being a family to now becoming a nation.
Do you think Paro invented that word though?
I don't know.
Something like that.
In the Torah, he's the first one to
He's
call
the
them
first
that.
one.
Yeah, to call Bnei Yisrael an Am. Right? So, sorry, just hearing something. So is that the Shiur? Oh, okay. So there's a new level that they're hitting, right? They're rising, reaching a new level, and maybe you could say that that's exactly the point. That it's not because they did something wrong. It's not because they fell. It's the opposite. It's because of the growth. It's the progression that created this new level of challenge. Because they're now developing into the next level of what it means of the story of the Jewish people, that they're going from Yechidim and from a family now to become a nation, that brings a whole new level of challenge, right? It's kind of like the story of every group of any chevra that then decided to start a shul. Why they decided to start a shul? Because something was going really well. That's why they decided to start. If it wasn't going really well, they wouldn't have decided to start a shul. Like they had some houseman, some shiur, or some whatever, and it was going really well, so they decided to start a shiur. What does everybody know happens when you decide to start a shul? Something goes wrong, right? That's exactly this. It's not because something went wrong. It's not because something's bad. It's because the growth brings about new challenges. Klal Yisrael is developing into Klal Yisrael in this week's Parsha. It's the beginning of something called Klal Yisrael. Until now, it's individuals who are a family. That progression brings about a whole new world of challenge. So this is a very different mindset to look at. That when we experience nisyonos, when we experience challenge, when we experience a feeling of a setback, it's actually the result of a positive step. Now, most of us already know this, but even though we know this, I think 99% of the time, when we're in that position, we think that it's not true about our situation. Right? Everybody, I didn't say anything that everyone hasn't already heard before as a vort. Everybody's heard this cute vort before.
When he said, talked about Russia, and then he goes and talking about everyone, it kind of felt like there was you could view a Russia as like an outsider, and then brings it back to you.
Bring it back to you, right? Exactly, right. So exactly, maybe that's why he does that, right? I think that's true. I don't think that anything we've said so far is really novel. I think everybody's heard this before in some shmooze or some idea. But when you're the one in the position, that you're experiencing that, you don't think it's true about you. I think that's true for most people. And what Rabbi Nachman is saying is, and I think in our Parsha, Rabbi Nachman is comfortable, take food.
Oh, I will.
Thank you for that. Rabbi Nachman is saying that it's true about every situation. I think Rabbi Nachman would say that there is no exception to this rule. We always think we're the exception to this rule, but I think he would say there actually is no exception to this rule. Rav Itchermeyer says that there is no such thing as a Yeridah in Avodas Hashem. No, that's a wild statement. There is no such thing as a Yeridah in Avodas Hashem. There's no such thing as falling in Avodas Hashem.
Is this only applied to like our Avodas Hashem, or like also in our interpersonal relationships? Is it?
I would say it's all part of our Avodas Hashem.
What does that mean? There's such thing as a Yeridah? What do you mean?
There's no such thing as a Yeridah. Because when you have fallen, it's the beginning of a new stage of growth.
So it's not really a fall.
It's not really a fall.
It's just
you experience it like a fall.
Bad is not really bad.
It's not that it's not bad. It's not. He's not saying that there's no such thing as an Aveira. Chas v'shalom, that would be right? He's not saying that there isn't something you can do that's bad, but it's not a fall.
So Yeridah Tzarech Aliyah is a Lutfa Shazah.
While you're falling.
Well, he would say Yeridah Tzarech Aliyah means this. Because in Rabbi Nachman, who uses the phrase Yeridah Tzarech Aliyah all the time, Rabbi Nachman's another phrase he uses in the same breath as Yeridah Tzarech Aliyah, he says, Hisrachkus hitachlis ha-hiskarvus. The distance is the purpose.
You're saying we should embrace Yeridahs.
We should not choose Yeridahs, but we should embrace Yeridahs. Yes, but that's an important distinction. We shouldn't choose Yeridahs. He's not giving a green light or saying that there aren't Averos.
Right.
He's saying.
What is it? What's the saying?
Al tamalach she'efna eshna.
No. There's a thing you shouldn't say I'll do it.
Echtev ashav. Right. You shouldn't say Echtev ashav. Right. Yeah. Correct. You shouldn't say Echtev ashav. You can't choose a Yeridah, but but what you experience as a Yeridah is not a Yeridah.
I want to blow all your minds right now. I was speaking to this. This is coming from my rabbi in Israel, Chabad rabbi, and this is coming from Rabbi Milubavitch, one of his friends. Okay, so you're talking about al yor v'yiridot, right? Think of it like this: that you have a construction building. This is why everything is chap now. Okay, we have this construction building, in order for you to build that building, you need that foundation, and that foundation is beneath the kalka. It's underneath the ground. Okay, so that's already a Yeridah, right? But you're never gonna grow. You're never gonna you're never gonna get higher, rise up, if you don't have that initial, right? To either build that foundation, and I think everyone would say to themselves, whenever they go down, it's not a relapse. It's because there was a crack in the foundation. And you have to not rebuild the foundation, but strengthen it. And I think most people here would acknowledge that. Okay, so it's never a Yeridah.
Yeah.
Right? It's only to go higher.
And again, my point here is, first, the statement that there's no such thing as a Yeridah in Avodas Hashem, I think is a radical statement. But furthermore, what I want to just emphasize again is that we can all hear this. But then when it's about us in real time, we always think that it's not true about our situation. And that's the avoda. The avoda of learning what we're learning right now is not to learn a new concept. Some nights we have a shiur, there's a new concept, there's a new idea, it's a new insight. Tonight it's not. This is not. This is something we all know. But whenever it's us, we think we're the exception to the rule. And what Rav Meyer says is there's no such thing as a Yeridah in Avodas Hashem. So you can't be an exception because the thing doesn't exist. The Yeridah doesn't exist. What Rabbi Nachman is saying is that when you experience a greater level of challenge in something in your Avodas Hashem, it's not because you fell backwards, it's because you progressed. It's because something new is opening up. So let's continue in Likutei Moran. Rabbi Nachman has a similar idea that he discusses. So in the second source here, he writes like this: Lefamim ba la'adam hirhar tshuva. Are there more sheets going on? Lefamim ba la'adam. Here, if you want to look at it.
You're not going to get away.
Lefamim ba la'adam hirhar tshuva. Sometimes a hirhar tshuva comes to a person. V'naseh ba'osa sha ish kasher. In that moment, when they have a hirhar tshuva, when they have a thought of tshuva, they become an ish kasher. They want to go ahead and do something positive because they became, inspired. Because they want to do tshuva. So, for example, they want to go to the tzaddik. And then when they go to the tzaddik, all of a sudden now, they're going to be plagued with the Yetzer Hara. And now he loses that level of desire that he had just accessed. And then now when he actually comes to the tzaddik, he's actually there now. Meaning, first, when he starts traveling, he starts, losing his desire. Then when he actually gets to the tzaddik, Mizgaber alav ha'yetzer hara od yoser, now the yetzer hara is going to come at him even stronger. V'ovid kol chishko, and now he's going to lose all of his desire for closeness, all of that inspiration. Al yikshe be'inechazos. Don't allow this to be kasha to you. And don't allow your thoughts about this to kind of confuse you. Kida, because you have to know as follows. Why does this happen? This comes from the fact that in the beginning, when you had to hear her tshuva, when you had a thought of tshuva, because it was a good that was awakened inside of you, through your actions in that moment, Hemis Yitzro, you got rid of your Yetzer Hara in that moment. V'nizbatel Yitzro hara shehayalo, and you got rid of the Yetzer Hara. Ki miso bezeh hahir tshuva v'ha'ovda shel osa hasha, and you got rid of it in that moment. V'achar kach kisherotzel insoa, and now when you want to actually get up and go and do something good, mizgaber alav Yetzer Hara acher. It's a different Yetzer Hara that's coming at you now. Well, let me just finish reading and then try to bring out what I'm saying here, what I think he's saying. Because the Gemara says that the greater a person is, the greater level of Yetzer they have. You have a bigger Yetzer Hara than you had before. If you don't strengthen yourself against it, you will now have a new Yetzer Hara that will overtake you. And then you lose the chukka you had. Okay, so what's he saying here? I think this is huge, and this adds, I think, a subtlety to what we've been saying until now that I think is important. What he's saying is, what happens, this is the way I'm understanding it, what happens for most people when they have a moment of inspiration, and then after that inspiration, they have a new they have an experience of Yetzer Hara, that the same Yetzer Hara they once had. Meaning, let's say I struggle with, I don't know, whatever it is. I struggle with obsessing about my making more money. Right? Not that there's anything wrong with wanting to make more money, but I obsess over it. It's become like an avodah zarah for me, right? It's become an avodah zarah for me. Okay, so I'm obsessing with that, and so much so that I used to have, I used to, in the mornings I would learn a little bit, and I had, I was careful to not look at my phone and open my account or my emails before davening or whatever it is. But I've become so obsessive about making more money that now I'm looking at my phone before davening, looking at work emails and accounts and different things. And in the morning, I'm still going to my, to learn, but I'm kind of in and out, and I'm on my phone most of the time. And I cut a corner here, cut a corner there, because the money obsession is taking over. Okay? So let's say that's me right now. Okay? And then what happens? Now comes, it's Hanukkah. And I'm sitting by the candles, and I have a moment of awakening. Maybe I'm at a Avodah Salev Zusha concert, not concert, Tish, bring whatever. Maybe I'm just sitting by the candles by myself. Maybe I listen to a shiur. Maybe I open a sefer. I'm just sitting by the candles, whatever it is, and I have a moment of inspiration. And I'm like, you know what? I've become too obsessed with money. I don't want to be this obsessed with money. You know what? I want to go back to. Not go back. I want to be careful to, in the mornings, wake up and not look at my phone until after I daven. And I want to be careful to go to shul. And when I spend those 30 minutes learning, my phone's going to be in my coat pocket outside the shul. I want to do that. I've had a moment of inspiration, of clarity, that I've become too consumed by that. Okay, I have that moment. And then guess what happens? The next morning, I wake up and I reach for my phone before davening, and I want to go look at my phone, and it's time to go learn, and I don't really want to, or I'm going late because I'm going to take a work call quickly because I think, etc. Right? How do most people process that experience?
Failure?
Yeah, most people process that experience as meaning that the moment of awakening they had was a fraud, or was empty, was meaningless, wasn't real, wasn't true, and that they never actually accomplished anything.
When I said failure, I meant I didn't go as far. I thought just like, I tried but I failed, meaning I still think my initial thought was real, sincere.
Mm-hmm.
But
do you think that in that moment you completely got rid of your Yetzer Hara for mammon? For money?
Thought about it?
in the moment I did charata,
In the moment that you had that awakening for the candles, that you completely eradicated your Yetzer Hara and you had a moment of complete victory over your Yetzer Hara for money?
I do think so. Yeah.
You think so? Okay, that's awesome.
saying no,
I don't
no,
think
I'm
that's how
saying-
most people think.
No, I think no. I'm saying that. Saying Lemafreya when I look.
Yeah,
at it
Lemafreya,
backwards,
yes.
And I look at it backwards.
Yes.
I'm
The
saying
next
in
morning,
in
if
actual
the
moment-
next morning, if I made no change from yesterday morning, so the next morning, when none of my hisorus became implemented, do I look back now? How do I see it when I look back? I think that most people look back and say, I guess it wasn't real. I guess I didn't really get rid of the Yetzer Hara.
But that would mean that would mean that at the time they did it, it didn't really. It was empty.
Yeah.
Right? If they're coming back at
You
you,
need 2 hands for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't camera. See my face.
if they wake up and they say, "Oh, I failed," then it's
That's right.
they knew at that time they did it that it wasn't as sincere as it could have been. So if you say you wake up in the morning and you failed, then you want sincere commotion to the properly at the time of your doing it.
So
Disagree with me, please, if you're right.
No. So I'm saying that I think that I can speak for myself. I think this is how I think, but I think this is how most people think. That if I have a moment of inspiration and a moment of a hear her tshuva, and then it doesn't really amount to anything, or let's say it amounts to something, but only a little bit. I view that moment as being successful only in as much as it led to whatever it led to. Rabbi Nachman here is saying that is not true. Rabbi Nachman is saying that in the moment of that clarity and that decision of what I want, you actually completely slaughtered and eradicated your Yetzer Hara for money, and the experience you're having now is a brand new Yetzer Hara. It's not that being, again, I think the way most people think about it is if I'm experiencing it now, it means I didn't really get rid of it, and I didn't really do anything in that moment because it didn't really lead to anything. So it was just a nice moment that it didn't really lead to anything. You'll hear lots of people talk this way. I've heard big people speak this way. I've heard big people say, if after you went to if after you went to a kumzitz, if that didn't lead to changing something in your life, then what was it for? Then it wasn't
I
anything.
hear people say like if you have a good moment like in a kumzitz that night and you're up all night,
Right.
you know, like you feel good,
And you missed shachris the next morning. So what was it?
Nothing.
It's nothing. Rabbi Nachman is saying it's not true. Rabbi Nachman is saying is that when you had that moment, now to be clear, I'm not saying, and Rabbi Nachman is not saying that how you implement things and how you follow through on things and what you do the next day is not important. That's not the point. We're not minimizing or diminishing in any way, shape, or form the importance of what comes from moments of inspiration.
There is a concept of yotis charbev sedo. I'm saying.
Yeah, that what?
I've heard that saying a lot.
Well, it's a saying, yeah, but
It's
like what?
Like
what
he
does
was
that mean in this
saying,
context?
It's like it's great you went to a kumzitz, but then you missed shachris and then so that's yotis charbev sedo.
But that would be that's true. But that would be if a person, let's say, missed shachris because of the kumzitz. That's a different story. Which that's a legitimate question.
Or you're
of
saying
what's
the fact that you stayed up all night.
I've heard people say not that you're staying up all night for the kumzitz means you miss shachris. That I hear. Fine. That's a fair taino, which you can go back and forth. But I hear that. I'm saying what I've heard people say, and I think is a thing out there, is not that I was stayed up the whole night for the kumzitz and therefore missed shachris. Let's say I don't normally go to shachris. Or let's say I normally go to shachris 5 minutes late. Or let's say I normally daven, but I'm there on time, but I don't have kavanah. If in the kumzitz I was awakened and I had inspiration, if the next morning nothing about my shachris is different or better, that means the kumzitz was nothing, had no meaning.
So, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
That like there is a true change, like you said, it brings a new Yetzer Hara. But where does it actually leave you? Like that next day when you're in the same place, would Rabbi Nachman say?
Oh, so the point would be you're not in the same place.
But would he say that
You've grown. You're in a new place.
So a higher
You've progressed.
place?
Yes, you've progressed forward.
The only
exactly.
the only problem within what he's saying is that now you're dealing with a bigger, stronger Yetzer Hara.
Oh,
You don't.
because
That's
you
not
just
grit.
because
I don't know if I like that. But I prefer maybe to keep my guy in the lower. You know what I'm saying?
Right. What do you say?
So I'm gonna try this with my wife. I don't know if it's gonna work.
No, but listen, what's the idea? Is that now that you're with a strong Yitzhara, so what you did to overcome Yitzhara the night before, you got it down pat. You know you can do that. It's easy. So it's gonna happen again. And you're gonna do it again, and then you know that for next time I'm not grabbing my phone. So you know, you second time around you make a nice start, go to bed, you wake up. The second time around you just don't touch your phone.
Is that simple?
He's
saying regardless,
I don't mean it's second day, okay?
Right.
But I mean, like, it's not gonna. You already progressed, right? So if you
But
take
it's not.
Right.
Psychologically, we don't feel that way.
Right. So
The
idea is that so the idea is that number one, the moment in itself is a moment of success and accomplishment, and that is a self-contained. It's a self-contained value. Period. That's done. That's signed and sealed. Nothing that comes afterwards can retroactively change whether or not that moment was a moment of connection and a moment of something real. That's the first point, and I think that's a really precious point. And I don't think it's the way that everybody talks or thinks. Number two is not only was the moment in itself a self-contained accomplishment that is signed and sealed, but actually, when you experience the Yetzer Hara again the next morning, the word again is the wrong word. You're not experiencing the same thing you did the day before. You might feel like you're experiencing the same thing the day before. You might actually feel sometimes like you're experiencing something on a worse, let's call it, than the day before, which you interpret as a Yeridah, and the reality is that actually it's an Aliyah. That actually it's a brand new Yetzer Hara, because you are holding in a brand new place that's a stronger place. Now, if a person has the feeling that I don't want to grow because growing means I'm going to have more challenges, okay, that's a real question. That's an important. I appreciate bringing that up. That's an interesting point. There's a person.
I used to think when I was a kid, because there's a lot of sayings of like, if somebody's still here in this world, that means that they still have stuff to work on. So I'd be like, okay, I'm just going to always make sure that I'm not perfect,
right?
So I can stay around. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't want to be a total tzaddik.
Right.
Hashem goes after the tzaddikim early.
Right. So that's interesting. What if I don't want to grow? I don't want to grow because I don't want to have bigger challenges.
If Hashem invented the world that you do grow, then if you're really not growing, Hashem's gonna be like, I don't know, you're not supposed to be here either.
You can't outsmart the system. But I think that really comes from really not having a sense of belief in oneself.
Right.
That's what that's like. To me, that's just what that smells of.
No, I also think
smells
that
of like not.
It's boring, meaning when there's no challenge, then it just becomes like, what's the point?
Right.
The geschmack is when the challenge gets greater and greater.
Right.
However, I want to challenge that idea that the Yetzer Hara is a different Yetzer Hara. What does that mean? What does that mean? It's what we deal with it, because we know it says that you have to, with the Yetzer Hara, like it knows you very, very well, and it's growing with you. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like it's the same Yetzer Hara your whole life.
What Rabbi Nachman is saying, and this is what I mean is like a nuance in what he's saying, which is so radical. And again, the general idea of what we're talking about tonight is something we've all heard before, but this nuance I think is actually really striking. If I'm understanding it correctly, Rabbi Nachman is saying it's not just that you're growing. It's not just that the moment is meaningful in of itself, and then what he's saying is that you had in that moment complete and total victory. In that split-second moment, it may have only lasted a moment, but in that split-second moment, you have elevated yourself to the level of tzaddik gamar. When you have that flash of Hir Tshuva, you are complete Tzadik Gemara. It's like the Gemara in Kiddushin, right? The Gemara in Kiddushin is a Gemara that everybody grapples with in sugyas, like in Gemara learning. People grapple with this sugya because it's very hard to understand. The Gemara says that if a man says to a woman, "Harei mekudeshes li, al menas shani tzadik gamor," harei zu mekudeshes. If a man says to a woman, "You are betrothed to me on condition that," if a person says, "You're betrothed to me on condition that I can fly," they're not engaged, right? They're not engaged. Or you are betrothed to me on condition that I have $10 million. If he doesn't have $10 million, they're not engaged. But if he says he could be a Rasha, if he says this guy hasn't put on tefillin in 2 years, and he says you are mikudeshes to me on condition that I'm a complete tzaddik, they're engaged. And I think this is just coming to mind now. I think Rashi says there, Shemeh hear her b'tshuva, that perhaps, so maybe it's a suffix kiddushin. But even the fact that it's a suffix kiddushin, Even the fact that it's a suffix kiddushin, why is it even a suffix kiddushin? Because maybe he had to hear a tshuva. Well, okay, he had to hear a tshuva, so he's a tzaddik gomer. Why are you a tzaddik gomer? Because you had to hear a tshuva. You still, what would your Rebbe tell you? You had to hear a tshuva. Great, you have a lot of work to do now to become a tzaddik gomer. You have a truckload of work to do before you can call yourself a tzaddik gomer.
Maybe first buy her a ring.
But the Gemara. But Rabbi Nachman is saying he's saying what that Gemara is saying. That in that moment, it's emes la'amito that you are a tzaddik gomer. Your Yetzer Hara. That's why he's emphasizing the fact that it's a new Yetzer Hara. You have actually completely eradicated your Yetzer Hara. It's not just that we're trying to be mechazik people, that it's a nice to give a nice thing that at the moment of inspiration you had it doesn't have to be a kumzitz. It could be you had a chavrusa with somebody, and at the end of the chavrusa you walked out of your chavrusa to your car in the parking lot on the way to work, and you felt really, really, really good and really connected, and you're like, you know what, like this is emes, this is what I want to be doing. You had a moment of total clarity. In that moment, you actually tzaddik gomer, nothing, no Yetzer Hara, and it's gone, it's over, it's dead, it's abolished. So much so, and this is what I think he's trying to say when he says that it's a new Yetzer Hara. It's so true that your Yetzer Hara is gone that we have to explain how you even have a Yetzer Hara now in 5 minutes from now. That's how true it is that you're talking. We have to figure out how is it even possible that you have a Yetzer Hara, and that's why he has to say, you know what the answer is? It's a new Yetzer Hara. But it's a new Yetzer Hara. What does it mean it's a new Yetzer Hara? It's a new Yetzer Hara because you actually got completely rid of anything not good about yourself in that moment. And it's literally true. So if you have any experience now of a taiva ra'ah or a desire to do anything else, you're not going back, you're not regressing, it's not that it wasn't real, it's a brand new experience of Yetzer Hara.
Or just a yes, no.
Yeah. Okay, let's see one more piece from Rabbi Nachman in Meshivas Nafesh. He writes about this as well. He says, "Kol adam sheba'olam," any person that's in this world, afilu mishu hu b'madrega hatachtona ma'od, even the person on a very low level, v'afilu imhu b'socha aretz mamish, he's buried in the ground. Im kol zeh kisherotza likanis b'avodas Hashem, when he wants to enter avodas Hashem, b'vadai tzarich sheyelech v'yala midarga l'darga. He has to go and rise up from one level to the next. And every time he goes from one level to the next. All the stuff comes at him, but it's new. They don't allow him to enter. This is the mistake that so many of us make. The Hasidim HaKsherim make this mistake. And again, even if we don't make this mistake in Hashkafa, but we make this mistake about ourselves. Because whenever it comes to us in real time, we think we're an exception to everything we're learning about tonight. Kisheroim shepitom mizgabim alav taivos ubabulim. When all of a sudden they have taivos and confusion and doubts and all this stuff, umenios, and now what do I think? I think I fell down. I think I went down. I had a Yeridah. Because 5 minutes ago, or an hour ago, or a week ago, or for the past month, or for the past 200 days, I've been on an amazing streak, and I haven't had this struggle. I didn't have this experience. I was in the clear. And everything was quiet. Therefore, he thinks that he fell chas v'shalom. What's the chas v'shalom? Is the chas v'shalom shenafal? I don't think so. I think the chas v'shalom is that he thinks he had a nefila. Chas v'shalom to think you had a nefila. Ava be'emes ein ze nefila klal. It's not a nefila. It's because you're being called to the next level. Now you have brand new and even stronger challenges. You have to strengthen yourself. And not to allow. Again, of course we have to strengthen ourselves in terms of all the things we do to stay fighting. But he's not even talking about mechazik that. He's talking about mechazik your mind in how you think about the challenge. I think, just to end off with, I was talking about the Parsha. We see this in the Parsha. First of all, the progression, like I said before, from the Yachid to the Am brings new challenge. We also see it even within the Parsha. When it says that when Mitzrayim was added, when the Mitzrayim were adding more oppression, what happened? They multiplied even more, right? And also, just to mention that this is a major, major yesod when it comes specifically to the Avodah of Shovim, because everything we're saying tonight is true about all Yetzer Hara and all Taiva, but maybe in a sense, there's nowhere that it's more poignantly true for a lot of people than when it comes to Taiva's Nashim, to Shemiras Habris, Shemiras Einayim, the experience of struggling and fighting and trying to be good and trying to be good and trying to be good, and then feeling like you fell and feeling like you fell and feeling like you fell and feeling in a feel and then feeling like, okay, I figured it out and I got the filter and I did better at this and I did better at that and I'm not going to these places anymore and I'm not going to look at this anymore, I'm not going to watch this anymore, whatever it might be. And there's moments of clarity and moments of inspiration and moments of clear commitment and so many moments of all this stuff, and then there's just a feeling of when a person struggles again, whether they're experiencing the experience of struggle or they're even experiencing having given into the struggle, whatever it is, it feels like, so I haven't gotten anywhere. So none of it was real. None of it did anything. Nachman's saying it's completely not true. It's completely not true. What happened in the moment of the good happened. It's real. It happened. And it's so real that actually you were at Tzad Gomer in that moment. There was no taiva left, which means that any taiva you're experiencing now is not the old taiva. It didn't come back. You didn't fall back, and it's not that it was never gone. It was completely gone. This is a brand new taiva. It's a brand new experience of struggle, and this brand new experience of struggle is only coming to you because you've actually progressed and you're actually going further. I think there's almost nowhere you see that more clearly than in these parshios. Maybe not yet this week's parsha 100%. But in the Parshios to come, which is, just to say this quickly, and we'll wrap up, is we know that Shibud Mitzrayim and the Avodas Parech of Paro and the oppression of the Mitzrayim is a paradigm of the Yetzer Hara, of that which opposes us. It tries to trap us. It tries to Paro, Perah, it's a bad mouth. Mitzrayim is Mitzrayim. It's the things that try and get us. Yitzias Mitzrayim is our ability to get free from that, to be freed from that. Hashem could have just taken us out of Mitzrayim, right? Just like that. So why did it take so long? And every time Par was about to give in and let us go, what happens? He keeps us again. And that's our lives. Every time we think we finished, we're good to go now, and then we experience Yetzer Hara. So how do we interpret that? I guess I didn't really grow. I guess it's not really working. I guess it's not really real. But actually, what does the Torah say? Why did Paro not let them go? Not because they did something wrong. Because Hashem actually wanted them to still be in Mitzrayim. Why did Hashem want them to still be in Mitzrayim? So the Torah tells us very explicitly. Because the Makos were not about getting Klal Yisrael out of Mitzrayim. It's not what the Makos were there for. If the Makos were there to get Bnei Yisrael out of Mitzrayim, just get them out of Mitzrayim. Done. Kill all the Mitzrayim. Take them out, or just take them out of Mitzrayim. I don't know, whatever. Put a bubble force field around the Jews and take them out of Mitzrayim. You don't need the Makos to do that. Just do one Makkah. Done. And then they're out. The Makos are not to get Bnei Yisrael out of Mitzrayim. The Torah tells us what the makos are for. The makos are there to reveal Hashem in this world. And why does Hashem harden Paro's heart that Paro doesn't let them go right away? And each time he doesn't let them go again? In other words, why do we struggle with Yetzer Hara again and again and again and again? And even though we have victories and we've advanced and then we struggle again? So the Torah says, it's because Hashem hardens Paro's heart so that there's an opportunity for revelation of Hashem in this world. So actually the experience of another struggle, the experience of the struggle, which is not the old struggle still sticking around, but it's a new struggle, a new version of it, a new experience of it. The reason for that is because somehow through that struggle, there's going to be a new revelation of Hashem into this world. So the struggle is not a b'diavad, it's a lechatchila. Somehow through this, there's a new revelation of Hashem in this world. So this flips the whole thing on its head. And again, like I said, there's maybe nowhere that this is more relevant as an important mindset and hashkafa than when it comes to the avodah of shovim. And I think that's what's being brought out in this week's parsha and in Sichos Haran Yud that we started with, and Rabbi Nachman's trying to get us to realize. And again, the most important part of this whole thing is to realize that we all know this already, but when it comes to ourselves in real time, we don't think it's true about us. We think it's true about all the other situations. And what Rabbi Nachman is saying is there is no exception to this rule, because this is what he's saying here is metaphysical. He's not saying something like nice or chizuk about you. He's saying something like in reality. So there can't be an exception to the rule, because this is the fabric of existence. This is the way the world operates. So there is no exception, and that's what we need to bring ourselves to when we're in this moment, is to really somehow bring ourselves into believing that I'm not an exception to this rule. That what we learn about is actually true, not just in general, not just about other people, but it's actually true about me. It's true about my situation. In the moment of my inspiration, I was a tzaddik gamor, and that's signed and sealed. When I'm experiencing Yetzer Hara now, or I'm experiencing a challenge now, it's brand new, and it's because I'm actually playing at a higher level now. Okay, Hashem should help us to be able to really believe that, not just in hashkafa, but to really, really believe it about ourselves, and to believe it about ourselves when we need it most. When we need it most is when we're least likely to believe it. To believe it when we need it most.
Amen.